Is yeah, a load of holes in human form with a lump in the middle, and it's trying to make a objective correlative of what it feels like to be alive and human, and it's not using the body to tell a story. It's just making an instrument which hopefully people can use perhaps to think about how they are feeling. And it's important as far as I'm concerned, because it's sort of, if you think of the bodies on Crosby Beach, which are iron and solid and weigh 3/4 of a ton, this is very light and is holy, and really it doesn't displace space so much as just hang around in it.
It floats.
Yeah, it floats, and it's very important. That floating thing is very, very important. So it's a body detached. It's a body turned into a kind of spaceship that is. You could say that its insides and its outsides are the same side.
And you came up and you positioned it. Particularly, it was your choice to put it in that position.
It was very important to me that it was in a place that was, in a way, not a designated gallery. It was just a communication space within the building where you could go from one floor to another. I liked the fact that there were these glass, elevators that were also dynamic within the space. So you can see it from below, above, and as you do, so the Poiré effect of the holes, and the fact that you're looking at this thing, which what is it? Well, I hope that it's a very different way of thinking about the body.
It makes you notice, certainly from the bottom of the stairs, you can just glimpse it, and it drags you up to the top. So you wanted that feeling of people passing by, passing through, rather than the formal gallery space where people
because it is about. Sculpture's a funny thing, isn't it? It's a still, silent thing that just hangs around.
But it's very different when you do sculpture within a gallery context as opposed to another place. Almost you're creating a sort of, you put it in a public area almost like another place. You just happen to put it in a gallery space as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, I was looking for a transitional space. And obviously beach is a transitional space because one minute they're sea and the next minute they're land. This is another transitional space where people are moving, as it were, from one floor to another, or from one gallery to another, from one experience to another. And it was more important to me to be in relation with bodies on the move, where you see this, in a way, place apart in relation to bodies on the move. Then I wanted it to be seen as a I think that my work continues to be misinterpreted as some form of representational art. And it's not. It's absolutely useless.
That's coming on to my next question then.
It's absolutely useless if you take it as that. If you think of it as, in a way, it's like a materialized shadow. It's the place. It's the memory of a place where a body once was, and by implication, anybody could be. It's an invitation for you to think, in a way, of yourself being there, and an invitation for you to think, perhaps, of those moments when you are, like it is, detached from the flow of everyday life. We are somehow doing something. We're always fulfilling some kind of command, some kind of duty, some kind of work. And this piece is, I think, trying to think about human being as being, not doing, and give a sense of that, give a objective manifestation of that.
So you almost put in a pause in the day. People can then put attachments onto that pause in the day, look around, gaze around, or just consider themselves, I suppose, in a way. You're stopping it.
I like the idea of the work. The work is empty. It doesn't have. It isn't telling a story. It's an instrument, and that it can be. It can be subject to the projections that you project upon it, or it can be an instrument through which you try perhaps to focus on how you're feeling at that particular time of the day or night.
Which brings me on really to my final question. You, with your name now and your profile, you have become what is very rare in modern times. You've become an artist that is known by the general population. If not directly with your name, although that would be very familiar to people through your work, such as classically, obviously, the Angel of the North. Now, how do you feel about that? Because I think people latch onto the representational nature of your work, even though you say it's not particularly representational, and that's what they find affection with. And yeah, obviously there's the underlying intellectual content there as well. I mean, we had here at the Art Gallery a Holman Hunt exhibition not so long ago, which is an artist, of course, who had fame within his own years in the 19th century and the early 20th century. I mean, how do you feel about your fame? Is it a wonderful thing, or do you feel ambiguous about it?
I'm not really interested in fame for its own sake. I think that, for me...
But it gives you the opportunity to maybe work in places that you wouldn't have before, would it? Does it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe. All I can say is that the greatest thing that can happen is when something that you make becomes part of other people's everyday life, and that it, I can't say that it would improve it, but that it somehow adds maybe a kind of dimension to that life. And the fact that Crosby, it was because people enjoyed or found value in the experience of going walking the dog in the company of 100 iron industrial fossils, that piece stayed there, and that's an incredible encouragement. And it's not just personally to me, I think it's an encouragement. It means that people have the taste to participate in contemporary culture in a way that they wouldn't have even 10 years ago. And it's I think it has to be said, there is a massive transformation happening in Britain now in terms of people feeling that art is for them, that it deals with the issues, that it reinforces the things that in a way they know and care about as part of their everyday experience. And I think that's the difference. Art was lost,
well, it fractured, wasn't it?
So long.
Yeah, it was seen as a thing over there, whereas, and if you look at the Lancashire Coast, for example, you've got another place at one side. You've got the very well-loved, and everybody wants to take a photograph of Eric Morecambe up at Morecambe. And it seems there's two traditions there in a way, and it's nice that actually people can appreciate another place in a way and have as much affection for that as somebody who's a famous face on television, which I find reassuring as well. So how far do you think we can take it? I know I'm getting signals from the end here. How far do you think we can take this?
They're always trying to move people on, because it's important that we get somewhere real. I think that the extraordinary thing is somehow art became a specialisation, and people accepted that. People somehow accepted that, I don't know, I know what I like, but
it was modernism, wasn't it? It sort of divorced it from the people. Exactly. People couldn't understand it anymore.
So that's the challenge. The challenge is to offer back to people what modernism called for itself: the right for independence, the right for, in a way, the expression of the importance of Praxiteles and Phidias and all of those Periclean sculptors is that, they're extraordinary and not to be bettered in many ways in terms of understanding how the body works, understanding the relationship between bone, muscle and skin, and idealizing it and making things that are witheringly beautiful. But nevertheless, they are part of a mythology. I think, or they represent moments in a known mythological narrative. And I think that for me, part of the notion of an open society and an open work is that something like Another Place, it has no defined meaning. People become part of a field in which their being is in some senses the subject of the work, and that there is no mythology. The mythology is now, if you like, or the subject is what they bring to it. And I think that's for me the exchange that has gone on between art and life. And I'm about to do One and Other, the fourth plinth in Trafalgar Square, trying to make a neighbourly relationship between Nelson on his column and a plinth that was made for George IV but never occupied, and allowing 2,400 living people to stand there, sit there, lie there, do whatever they want there for an hour each. And that idea of how does life feel everybody thinks of this in terms of the spectacle. I think I think the question that I'm more interested in is what does the subject feel when put in that elevated and privileged position of art? How would you feel to be that isolated and that, in a way, exposed in a place of such public activity?